ever spent a night after your little son or daughter has been kidnapped? How would you feel if your daughter, wife, or mother is being assaulted and then imprisoned solely for her nationality? Well, I'm Ula Al-Asi, and today I'll continue discussing the same topic of the last episode about the suffering of Palestinian prisoners in the Israeli jails. At the end of January 2020, at least 183 Palestinian minors were held in Israeli prisons as detainees and prisoners. At least 6,000 Palestinian children have been detained by Israeli authorities since 2015. The NGO said that 98% of the children held had been subjected to psychological and/or physical abuse while being in the Israeli custody. Israeli raids to detain Palestinian children are carried out on a daily basis, and the minors are subjected to severe torture by Israeli occupation forces and interrogators. The Palestinian children suffer harsh and inhumane conditions in Israeli jails. Actually, prisons where the Palestinian children are detained lack the international criteria for children and the prisoners' rights. They suffer a lack of proper food, hygiene, ventilation, and lighting, as well as from pest infestations, congestion, and a lack of medical treatment, as well as a lack of proper clothing. They are completely cut off from the outside world, being beaten, have no family visitation, no social workers, and are detained with all the prisoners. Israel is the only country in the world that systematically subjects its children, and only Palestinian children, to military tribunals. US lawmakers have in recent years introduced legislation in an effort to curb these abuses. What about the Palestinian women? Israel detained more than 16,000 Palestinian women since its occupation of the West Bank, Jerusalem, and the Gaza Strip in June 1967. Now, there are 43 Palestinian women incarcerated in Israel for resisting the Israeli occupation of their land. Really. 27 of the women have been sentenced to various terms. The highest is 16 years for Shuruq Adwiyat from occupied Jerusalem. 16 of the women imprisoned are mothers, 4 held in administrative detention for various periods without a charge or trial, and based on secret evidence. And 8 were shot and wounded by soldiers before they were detained. Palestinian women are usually held mainly in Hashburn and Diamond prisons. Both of these prisons are located outside the 1967 occupied territory, in direct contravention of Article 76 of 4th Geneva Convention, which states that an occupying power must detain residents of occupied territory and prisons inside the occupied territory. Israel has ignored appeals by human rights groups to end its night raids and arbitrary arrests in the occupied West Bank, and release more than 1,000 particularly vulnerable Palestinians, including children, women, seniors, persons with illnesses, and those held in administrative detention without a charge or trial. The World Health Organization and other United Nations agencies have made repeated calls and issued guidelines to prevent the spread of the virus in detention and institutional settings. Prisoners' rights group Al-Damir recently stated that Israel has taken no steps to release Palestinian prisoners and detainees or to adequately mitigate and prevent the COVID-19 outbreak in prisons. As a result, Israel's violations of children and women in Palestine are still going. Israel killed and wounded dozens of children and women, and we're coming to this in the later episodes. But until then, we hope that you'd be able to raise your voice and say no in the face of the Israeli authoritarian regime and the repression against the Palestinians. Because I guess you can't accept your kid, wife, mom, or your sister has to live under the same conditions. It's a legitimate struggle for the Palestinian people to expose the illegal practices of the occupying power and its jailers in the international forums towards achieving accountability. This is enough for today. Please don't forget to like and share the video. See you.